I used to think late night practices were peaceful. There was something calming about an empty field under the stadium lights. The rest of the campus quiet while we ran drills and pushed through sprints. The air always felt colder, cleaner. I liked it that way. But then things started to change. It was early October when I noticed the first strange thing. Practice had just ended, and coach had already left. I was the last one in the locker room, stretching out my hamstrings. That's when I heard it, a single sharp whistle blast. I thought maybe someone had forgotten something on the field, so I peeked out the door. The field was completely empty. I figured it was my imagination, or maybe some random student messing around. But the next night, it happened again. Same time, right after practice, right when I was alone. This time, I stepped out and stood on the edge of the field, listening. It was quiet for maybe 30 seconds. And then another whistle, but not from the field, from the stands. I looked up, squinting into the rows of empty bleachers. Nothing. No movement, no shadows. I told myself to forget it. Maybe it was just the wind, whistling through the aluminum seats. But each night after that, it got weirder. Equipment started going missing. Cones, weights, even a blocking dummy. Then they'd reappear a few days later in random places. Once, I found a set of cleats sitting on the center line of the field, perfectly placed like someone had walked out of them mid-stride. Then came the footprints. Last Thursday, it rained hard during the day, but cleared up by the time practice started. The field was still damp, and as I jogged out to warm up, I noticed a line of fresh, muddy footprints stretching across the 50-yard line. Bare feet. They weren't from any of us. We always wore cleats. I followed the prints, but they just stopped halfway down the field, like whoever it was had vanished. That night, I asked Coach if he ever saw anyone hanging around after we left. He just stared at me for a second before saying, "You know this field's had its share of weirdos. Lock up after practice." But last night was when I realized this wasn't just someone messing around. I stayed late again, tying up loose weights, and heard the whistle. Sharp, deliberate. I turned around, and up in the top row of the bleachers, someone was standing there, perfectly still, facing me, wearing our team jacket. I froze. The figure didn't move. He just stood there, half in shadow, but the stadium lights were bright enough for me to make out the dark red and white jacket, our team colors. The same kind we all got at the start of the season, with our last name stitched on the chest. But from where I stood, I couldn't read the name. I took a step forward, and the figure backed into the shadows. I sprinted toward the bleachers, taking the stairs two at a time. But by the time I got to the top, the row was empty. No footsteps, no sound, nothing. The next morning, I asked the guys if any of them had come back to the field after hours, maybe messing around. Every single one of them denied it. Most just laughed. But one of them, Eric, our backup quarterback, looked uncomfortable. After practice that day, he pulled me aside. "There's this story," he said. "Upperclassmen don't talk about it much, but it goes around every few years. About a guy who used to play linebacker here. Real intense. Could have gone pro. Then one night, something happened during practice." "What happened?" I asked. Eric shrugged. "Nobody knows for sure. They say he got injured, like real bad. But instead of getting help, he just walked off. Never came back. Coach at the time didn't report it. Some say he was covering up how bad it was. I didn't want to believe it. Stories like that float around every team. Urban legends to mess with the new guys. But that night, I decided to check something. I went into the equipment room. It's where they keep all the old records, rosters, game tapes, photos. I found the yearbooks going back decades. I started flipping through them, scanning the football team pages. And there it was, 1998. A photo of the starting lineup. One guy in the back caught my eye. Big building. intense stare, wearing a red and white jacket. His name was stitched across his chest, M. Garrison. But that wasn't what made my blood run cold. It was the fact that the jacket he was wearing, exactly like ours, wasn't issued until 2004. That style didn't even exist in 1998. I snapped a picture and got out of there. That night, I didn't stay late. But when I got to my dorm, there was a whistle hanging on my door handle. The old metal kind. And I swear I hadn't seen it before in my life. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the whistle in my drawer, but it felt like it was calling to me. Like if I listened hard enough, I'd hear it in the dark. I thought about reporting it to campus security, but what was I going to say? Hey, I think I'm being haunted by a linebacker from 1998. So instead, I decided to go back to the field. One last time. I needed to know what was going on, even if it meant confronting whatever was out there. I waited until after midnight. The stadium lights were off, so I brought a flashlight. The field was dead quiet. Even the usual hum of nearby traffic seemed muted. I walked to the 50-yard line and stood there listening. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. Then I heard it. That whistle. It echoed from the far end zone, long and sharp. I turned and aimed my flashlight into the bleachers. That's when I saw him again. Not standing. Running. Charging down the stairs toward me at full speed. My brain screamed to run, but my legs wouldn't move. As he reached the edge of the field, I finally turned and bolted, but the sound, cleats pounding the turf, was right behind me. I cut toward the sideline, hoping to make it to the locker room, when I tripped over something and went down hard. I scrambled up, shining my light around, expecting to see him inches from my face. But there was nothing. Just silence. Then I looked at what I'd tripped over. A blocking dummy. Except this one had a jersey over it, number 47. Same number M. Garrison wore in the 1998 photo. I stepped back, heart pounding, and that's when the field lights, all of them, flickered on. No one had touched the switch. The whistle blew again, this time right behind me. I turned, ready to face whatever it was, and saw a man. Not a ghost, not a shadow. A man, real, breathing, standing at the edge of the field, dirty jacket zipped up to his chin. "Game's not over," he said, voice rough like gravel. "You're on my field." I ran. I don't even remember how I made it back to my dorm. The next day, I showed the photo and the story to campus security. They took it seriously. Turned out, a man had been living underneath the stadium, old maintenance tunnels nobody used anymore. They found his things, including several team jackets, a cot, and an old rusted whistle. The man himself was gone. No one's seen him since.